We all have an opportunity to break the pattern and break the cycle. What are you proving? And why do you feel the need to prove? We just need to look at the facts. Are you driven by the idea of success or by the fear of failure? We need to know as humans what we value in life. Outcome is just a byproduct of making good decisions. Good decisions is just a byproduct of knowing what decision to make. So why don't we go root cause rather than surface level? When we look at it, it's like, what is health? We need to be resilient, but what I actually believe is the fundamental to a high-performing team is, what exactly do you do? I help integrate the human into the human performer.
I just want to start this episode with a message of gratitude for everyone who tunes in each and every week. Thank you. I feel like I owe you a massive thank you for all your love and all your support. You've allowed me to grow and connect with so many amazing people, have so many amazing conversations, which I'm then able to go and share with you. So thank you for allowing me to do this and supporting what I'm doing. Can I ask you a favor though? And I can't tell you how much this can change the course of the podcast, the guests that I get on, everything that happens around here, just by doing one simple thing. And that simple thing is pressing the subscribe button. It honestly helps so much in allowing the podcast and the guests to just get bigger and better. And I sit here and I think about the next 12 months and what that's going to look like. And a lot of that is going to be fueled off the back of your love, your support for the podcast and everything that's happening here. So from my heart, thank you. Let's keep doing it. And I can't wait to see what the next 12 months holds for this show and for us as a community. Enjoy the episode. Joe Brown, thank you so much for making the trip out here. Hour and a half drive from the sunny coast, man. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me, bro. It's always good to be in the car by yourself and allow that mind to wander. So, privilege.
Where did that mind take you this morning? Did you have any thoughts about this podcast?
Listening to a little podcast with a guy called Chris Williamson, Modern Wisdom with Alex Hormozy. I really like Alex Hormozy's mind. And then one of my favorite artists, NF, just dropped his new album, and just listening to his music, some deep words to it. But yeah, it's about 15 minutes out from arriving here, just connecting with my breath and sort of just coming back to that center place, so I can show up for this.
What's the earliest context that the audience or myself need to know about you to better understand the man that sits in front of us today?
Yeah, challenged at school, loved sport, second guess the way that I approached things and thought about things, but really realizing I really appreciate the art of just deep thinking and like philosophy and questioning things. Crave deep connection. I struggle with surface level.
Are you introverted?
I heard an interesting concept on like introvert, extrovert. I am both. So I'm extroverted. I feel like when I'm at my peak of, say, connection, like I can be incredibly extroverted. Well, I am extrovert then, but I feel like it's in setting up times of solitude and going inward that actually allows you to thrive on the external. So I don't like to label things too much, but I think it's a blend between the two. Like I love my alone time. And I feel like that's the thing that gives me the clarity and the energy to show up in those external environments.
Yeah. I feel like as an introvert, because I'm naturally introverted, and you mentioned, you seek and you love deep connection and deep conversations. And I feel like that's a big introvert tendency. And yes, you're right. Like we can tap into both introvert and extrovert. And I could resonate, like you feel you can tap into that extrovert side of you when you do feel that connection, and it comes to you just feeling comfortable in that environment, correct? So I can totally resonate, because for me, I would have like two different personalities growing up. Like I'd love my me time, going out to nature, doing my own thing. But when it came to being in a new situation, especially with people I didn't know, where I was way out of my comfort zone and I just kind of kept to myself. But then if I got comfortable with those people, I think a totally different person. And the people were like, fuck is this version of Nick? Like he's loud, he's just a bit way out there. But then at other times, you're just so quiet, so shy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when we actually think about introvert and like going quiet in environments, thinking out loud now, if I was in that environment, it's probably more so me thinking that they're thinking about something about me. So it's just like the fear of judgment. So if we remove the fear of judgment and we actually analyze the mind from that perspective, is introvert even a thing?
That's a good question, eh?
And I don't know the answer. It's just a pondering that I just had then. It's because like, what are we actually thinking? What's the internal dialogue that we're having in those moments when we're around those people? If that wasn't there, then would we feel introverted?
Wow. Yeah, because I think about it now, when I am in those situations, I am always thinking about what the other people are thinking.
Yeah.
Are they looking at me? Do I look funny? Like all this different stuff. And that judgment comes up. And
see, when we look at labels now, it's like labels can limit us because they give us a reason not to like go within and actually assess ourselves. And I use that in many different scenarios. Could be wrong, but just thinking about it now, it might be something I'll look into more, and about the introvert concept, because you hear it a lot, right? Like introvert, extrovert. But I feel like once everyone finds who they really are, what they really love to speak about, you put anyone in a room to speak about their hobbies, and if lack of confidence or self-doubt wasn't even a thing, everyone would shine. I believe.
Yeah.
So then when we look at is there even such thing as an introvert, or is it just being the conditions that we've placed on ourselves over the years and the fears of what other people think of us that then has created this label of I'm an introvert?
I love that, because the way I see introvert, extrovert is energy. And the way that I love to explain it is the extrovert wakes up in the morning and they have 0 coins, but every interaction they have, they gain a coin. So they gain energy from interaction and socializing.
Yeah.
Whereas the introvert wakes up and we have energy, but every interaction that we have, we actually lose that energy. So it's so important for us to understand where we gain energy, so then we're able to recharge. So for me, if I was to do this podcast right now and after it, I'm going to feel a bit drained.
Yeah.
So I understand that now, and I need to go have some me time to recharge the batteries, because socializing and having interactions drains my battery. So that's the way I see introvert, extrovert.
And then I also see like that could even be looked at just like energy management or just knowing how you function. Labels have come up a lot lately for me, like personally, in just different conversations and certain things. And I just feel like we limit ourselves when we label ourselves. See, if I look at that, I'm like, I'm going to feel drained after this too. But that's just because we've just had a deep conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's an interesting concept labels, I feel, anyway. But it's something to ponder over, and I'm sure, maybe the audience might have some different views on this too, and maybe drop into the comments below what your experience is.
That's why I love having these conversations, because everyone has a different perspective.
Yeah.
Like I had my perspective, you have your perspective, and bringing it together, we can make sense of it all.
Yeah.
And then the audience are going to come in and have their viewpoints on it as well. So it's so interesting that we're able to sit here today and have these conversations.
Yes, for sure.
You mentioned school, you had your challenges. What were those challenges?
So again, I was labeled as ADHD Asperger's as a child. So from year one, like I would always go up to the office and get like a tablet at lunchtime. I remember racing the same kid up to the office every time. He would always smoke me. He was fast. I have your tablet. And so like early on, looking back now, it's like not meditating, but meditating like a part of me that was true to me, but like didn't fit into like the structure of schools. So you had to meditate because you're too loud, you do this. And also focus. So it's like ADHD and Asperger's, I then labeled. So the way that school is set up to teach people didn't resonate with me at all and just didn't get the best out of me. I love drawing, using highlighters, using permanent markers, like drawing and understanding things to make sense of something. And I personally just don't believe school has evolved. The system of school has evolved to meet the needs of a wide range of how people learn. Without going too deep into a rabbit hole, I also think that's set up for a particular reason, because they don't want people to think outside the box. They don't want people to be creative. The structure of society is in my eyes around control, and if they can set up a certain syllabus in a certain way to think like this, and you're right or wrong, and this is this, and we don't work as a team, it's all this and that. Like, it's just structure. And I feel like for me, I've done a lot of work to break free of that thinking, but you can definitely see how the principles and the structures that have been set up at school is often the same principles and structures people then move into for the next 15, 20 years of their life.
Definitely agreeing. You about to become a father yourself. Have you thought about when your child comes of age to go to school, are you going to send them to school?
Probably not right now, to be honest with you. I don't particularly resonate with everything that's been brought up around sexuality in schools. My personal opinion, and everyone's able to do their own thing, but I don't want my child prone to that. I believe in nature, and I believe in duality, and I believe in good, bad, man, woman. That's just my personal opinion. And I don't want my child in an environment that avoids the reality and the truth of what that human is, whether it is a boy or a girl, we don't know yet. And at the moment, I just don't think the school system's evolved to teach kids life lessons, particularly where the world's heading. I'd rather find a community, and they've come up since COVID a lot more, is find a community and a tribe where kids can be taught values and time management and stuff in like nature and learning actual skill sets that are required to what I personally believe to live your own self-defined version of success. And I think I can do a better job, hopefully within the community of similar kids, same age, parents on the same wavelength. I think we can cultivate confidence in children better than what the system is currently providing.
Yeah, I've had this conversation with my partner a lot, and it's like, what do we do? Because I don't believe in the school system either.
I think parents, I won't actually point the finger at them. My observation is convenience is easy. NF just released a really cool video clip yesterday called Happy, his new song. And it's like childhood mirroring, right? I'm a massive believer of breaking a pattern. So if the pattern's been passed down to you with certain burdens, and we can't judge or blame that person, they just did the best that they could with the cards that they've been dealt, and we happen to be at the receiving end of it, whether it's family, friends, whatever it may be over the years, right? And I believe that we all have an opportunity to break the pattern and break the cycle. So you can look at sending your kid, if deep down you don't think school's right for your kid, that's the truth. That's the truth and the answer you feel. So anything on top of that is just you avoiding the truth. And then when we look at it, I feel like it's just a convenience thing. Now, obviously financials is a huge thing in today's society. And one of the things I want to be able to do is not ignore the fact that you need money in this society. Money, I think people avoid that. So one of the things I'm really working on this year is building a scalable model and continue to serve my clients. So when my child comes, we have opportunities, so we're not limited by finances to be able to do these things. So that's a big thing. So I understand people may not be in that position, but at the same time, I also believe that you can also put yourself in that position if you choose to. So I just don't want to do anything that's out of convenience. I just want to do what I think is the best, what me and my partner, Taylor, think is the best thing for our child.
That's all you can do, right?
Yeah.
There's always going to be people that say, oh, you should parent this way, you should do it this way, society does it this way. But as a parent, I feel our biggest obligation is just to, one, be better parents than our own parents, and two, just do the best with the tools that you have, but always looking to grow and gain new tools, because society is always changing, it's always evolving, there's always new ways to do things, and you just got to do what you feel is best for your child, because at the end of the day, it is your child, no one else's. And for me right now, it's just about building that financial freedom. So then when my daughter comes to that age, I don't have to send her to school. I can, find a school that you were mentioning just before. Or a big thing for me is I want to travel around the world. I think life experience is way more valuable than sitting in a classroom all day. Experiencing different cultures, the way different people live life, languages, all that kind of stuff. She's going to get way more out of that than doing mathematical, equations that you never use when you leave school anyway.
Yep.
And then, a large majority of kids nowadays are getting labeled with ADHD like you were, and so many other things.
Yep.
How did that affect you growing up and having that label? Did you take that label on and believe that was you?
I got the dot in year 12, HSC. Got the dot, so it's like you don't get a result, basically. It's like below 30%. I don't know. It's like so low in society's eyes that it's like you're not even worthy of a score. So you basically get the dot, right, in the HSC.
Did you even do your exams?
Yeah, I did my exams. I didn't apply. I got what I deserved.
Yeah.
In conjunction to effort, right? But why would I apply effort to something that doesn't process in my mind, and nor am I interested in? It doesn't make sense. It's just a waste of time.
Yep.
So the ADHD and Asperger's thing, I numbed it through school, like coming like the joker master, acting like I didn't care. But deep down, there was a level of feeling like I was dumb for sure, 100%. Teaching myself how to procrastinate, teaching myself how to tap out during class, like all those sorts of things. And there's still things that I'm more aware of now, but I'm still unraveling. The ADHD and Asperger's thing is just such a big can of worms, where it's just like, we just need to understand how we best operate as a human, understand the type of human are we fiery, what do we need, and then creating solutions and habits and things in our life to balance ourselves out and best operate. That's it. That's literally it. Unless there's an extreme version of like autism, of course, you know what I mean? Where, you're non-verbal, or, there's extreme versions. But where I'm at, it's like, I'm not going to be limited or use this label as a cop-out to just use it when shit hits the fan, or when something doesn't go my way, or if I outburst, or if I, it's just a cop-out in the end of the day. Okay, my mind overworks, and my mind thinks a lot, and I'm energized, and I'm all these things. Cool, so what do I need to do to balance it out? Sit in silence, process my mind, process my thoughts, go for a walk, all these things to balance it out a little bit more. But then we've also labeled it as a problem or an issue, where I just don't think it is. I know it's not an issue. I know it's not a problem. But again, coming back to society and the school system, it's labeled a problem in the school system because ADHD kids and Asperger's kids, they're loud, they're up, they get in trouble, they talk, they distract people. But it's like, okay, look at the structures that they're in. Of course they're not going to thrive.
They can't control you.
Nah.
But they want you to just stay in that classroom, that box all day, and you don't want to be in the box. You want to be out exploring, being creative. And, for you, if you find something you're passionate about, your energy just goes straight to that, and you can, you can be such a high performer in that area, but if it's something you're not passionate about, you're like, fuck this, I want nothing to do with it. So it's coming back to what you say, like understanding who you are. So then you can actually do the things that you enjoy, understand your energy input, output, all that kind of stuff. So then you're not letting these labels control you. I believe these labels are actually superpowers, man. 100%. Like for me, being introvert, experiencing anxiety a lot growing up, and I shouldn't even label myself an introvert. No.
Something that you shouldn't or shouldn't, you just have.
Yeah.
And then once you fully accept, you then can change. When we use should and shouldn't, we judge ourselves.
Yeah. Well, these labels that myself and society have given me, I now see it as a superpower. And I'm a big believer that our passions come from our pain points within our life. Now, for me, speaking, conversations was a massive pain point for me growing up because I was put down a lot. I was that shy, quiet kid. You can't speak to anyone. You have no confidence. And now it's like, okay, my passion is actually deep connection, speaking, having these amazing conversations now. So I'm super grateful for my upbringing, everything that happened there and the labels that I was given, because I wouldn't be sitting in this chair today if it wasn't for that. And I'm sure you're very much the same.
Yeah, it serves its purpose. Like our past serves its purpose. I think once we get to an awareness point where it just depends, it gets to a place when what is the fuel behind it? And is it from a resentful, angry place? You know what I mean? Or proving something wrong. And I feel like the fuel from our suffering to start off with is great fuel to get going and build momentum in things, but I don't think it's sustainable.
It's unhealthy when you attach yourself to that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm doing it to prove this person wrong. I'm doing it to prove my parents wrong. It's like, what are you proving? And why do you feel the need to prove? You know what I mean? Like, I just personally believe, because I've been there, it's unsustainable. So I feel like on your self-development journey and everyone's journey, you were always going to contradict ourselves. And I think that's okay. Or I know that's okay.
Yeah, it is. So for you, high school, you got the dot. Did you use ATAR or non-ATAR back then?
Yeah, ATAR.
Yeah, okay. So I did non-ATAR because I was like not interested at all. Yeah. So for you coming out of school, did you know or have a kind of thought pattern of what you wanted to do?
So I always wanted to play rugby league.
Yeah, okay.
At a high level. Then had a few trials, but ended up doing my knee, and then went on a health journey, really got in love with the fitness industry, and then started my gym when I was 19, and then just sold it at the back end of last year, or sold the space. So yeah, rugby league didn't happen. Rugby league, fell in love with the fitness industry, noticed that people were doing well in the fitness industry as a career, and moved into that.
How old are you?
26.
Okay, same age. When you realized that rugby league wasn't going to be the career path for you, was your identity wrapped up in like I'm a rugby league player?
Yeah, thinking about it now, there was like ongoing, and even to this day, like working with some of the athletes that I'm working with, I get jealous when they run out of the field. I'm like, but at the same time, I need to remind myself, it's like, no, my life path wasn't designed for this, and just remind myself I am where I am. And I think I like rugby league when it's, there's so much that goes into being an athlete, right? So I appreciate what they do. So not looking back now, I think I just dove into the fitness industry and loved it from the get-go, like a lot. But yeah, there was probably a little bit of like failure, like feeling like I failed not making rugby league, but not too much. No, not really.
Because for me, the NRL was my goal as well. And growing up, I was always put down for being that skinny kid.
Yeah. And
it got to the point where I thought it was going to be a good idea to go down the path of steroids and stuff. Like I thought I needed that to get to that next level. Yeah. And yeah, I put on heaps of weight, but it didn't help me get to that next level. And I ended up one, getting off the gear altogether, and then two, I stopped playing footy. And it was about for 1 or 2 years, I didn't even watch NRL. I just had this like spite towards it. Like I didn't want nothing to do with it. Now I've come back to watching it and I fucking love it so much and I have such a appreciation for it. I'm not jealous or anything like that like I was before, because I went to school with I went to Patricia Brothers Blacktown. So I was in the same year group as Jerome Bulwer and all those kind of boys. Grew up versing Nathan Cleary and that. And I was like, fuck, these guys are playing NRL. I could have been there. But it's like, if you keep going through life thinking or having that negative mindset towards, fuck, I wish I could have done that. I could have been playing at Penrith Stadium today, and you start putting yourself down and having that hate towards yourself, you're never going to be happy and you're never going to be totally fulfilled in where you're at right now in life. Because I believe everything happens for a reason. Life happens for you, not to you. And at the time I thought, NRL was my goal. That was going to be me. It wasn't meant to be.
I was thinking about this on the way here, and the concept that I came up with was, if NRL had the attention that lawn bowls gets, would we actually as be in this position? Like, would we like miss it or have FOMO or like all those sorts of things?
Probably not. Oh, I enjoyed playing it, but
when we look at it, I feel like the reason why we pedestal, like, and I work with some great athletes, right? They're fucking humans.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason why we pedestal them is because the game gets pedestaled so much with attention.
Yeah, it's on TV every week.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's where attention goes. It's like we feel like that's why girls look at like the Kardashians or whatever. It's like we think that they're someone completely different than to who we are, and so we pedestal it, and then we create something out of nothing. And so it's interesting because if like NRL had the audience size that lawn bowls did, would we be thinking like this? Or would we pedestal the Nathan Clearys or the Nico Hineses or the Jerome Lewis? Would we pedestal them?
Sure.
And don't get me wrong, they're amazing athletes and they've worked incredibly hard at their skill set. But would they be able to do podcasting as good as you? Probably not, no.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? It's just because their skill set that they've devoted their life to happens to be one that's in the media so much.
Yeah.
So it's in our front of our consciousness, no different to COVID, because it was thrown in front of our eyes. It was a massive debacle. Mm-hmm. Where attention goes, energy flows.
Definitely. I was going to say, have you been to some lawn bowls lately? They get a pretty good crowd down there.
I couldn't imagine. I mean, you used to watch it like growing up when it was like on ABC or SBS. Like, it used to come up. It used to get a decent crowd. So it's like, it's good to watch.
Yeah.
They're fucking good, the good guys.
We did a bonding session for our Oz tag team. We went down to the local lawn bowls and all the old fellas are down there. It's a pretty good crowd. I was like, it's not bad. Can't wait till I'm that age.
Your local pub hero.
Yeah. You mentioned you work with a lot of high-profile athletes. So what exactly do you do?
I help them integrate the human into the human performer. Because often along the journey is because these athletes get so much attention, it's very easy if they don't have the support to see themselves as two different people. They're actually just one person. And it sounds easier said than done, but really what they are is they have a skill set, they're human with certain values, beliefs around how they view themselves in the world. And the closer that I can bring the human and fully integrate it into the performer, which is basically just bringing them back to who they essentially are, their authentic self, that's when they perform, because that's when they have a higher sense of self beyond just the title of who they are perceived as in the public eye. And so when we integrate that, the fear of failure isn't as prominent, the fear of judgment isn't there as much. And so when we remove these obstacles or these mind-made constructs, they start to naturally perform better because they're not performing through a limited self.
What made you want to get into that line of work?
I love just human nature, human behavior altogether, right? And now I'm sort of coming back to just wanting to work with anyone that has a desire to want change. Specifically with sport is I just love sport and I love finding the edge and how we can find the edge. The good thing about athletes for me is I ran a gym, and one of the main reasons why I felt out of the gym was because I had to call people to try and inspire them to turn up. When it's like, why would I waste my energy on someone that doesn't even want to change themselves? The cool thing about athletes is they've already signed some unwritten contract to themselves that they're going to show up no matter what. It's a non-negotiable. You have to show up if you want to be a high-profile athlete. So it's like, we know they don't show up, so it's not a motivation problem. And then we can sort of like look at what are the percentages and what are the small things that we can change, evolve. And normally that's just human within. And it's cool because I'm able to connect with these athletes on a level that not many people get to see them at. And it's so cool. Like last night, I had Brails and KP over dinner. Just like two great humans, just two great people. We had an amazing session. They met my partner and we just talked as humans. And these people are just humans at the end of the day. So I love sport. I love that. But I think coming back now, I've really realized that the work that I've been doing with athletes is just the same work that I've been doing with non-athletes. It's just understanding where their limits have come from, where are the stories that we've created about ourselves, where do they stem from? Childhood, certain events in our lives. What were the behaviors that we adopted around that? What were the mental constructs that we've created around that? And then that forms our perspective and belief on our world, in our society. So when we can dismantle that and open their mind up to new ways of thinking and learning and teaching them how to become the master of their mind rather than their mind mastering them. Not only, like I said, do they evolve the human, but by evolving the human, the performer naturally just evolves.
A quick word from our sponsor, One Stop Pod. If you're looking to start a podcast, but you're sitting on the fence because you don't know where to start, or maybe you even already have your own podcast and you want to take it to the next level, One Stop Pod can help you from our high quality podcast studio, post-production services, and even podcast mentoring to ensure that you have your foundations, structures, and systems in place to ensure that your podcast can grow and blossom. This is honestly something that I wish I had when I first started my podcast, because when I dived in, I had no clue what I was doing. I had no guidance, no information. I was just like, okay, what do I do? With One Stop Pod, we got everything for you. All you have to do is focus on having the conversations that you want to have. If you're interested in finding out more about our services and our packages, feel free to check us out on Instagram at OneStopPod_. Let's get back to the podcast. Is there a common limiting belief you see throughout working with the athletes that you do? Because, as an athlete, they're scrutinized week in, week out on their performances, what they do at training, everything like that. Is there some common limiting beliefs that you see?
No. Something I've been pondering on and speaking to my athletes about is, are you driven by the idea of success or by the fear of failure? And my therapist and my coach said to me, who's worked with athletes themselves, is athletes, because they get given so much attention, I feel like they try so hard to continue to prove to the external world that they're validated and worthy of the gratification that they're getting. And so when we can take this power back and they're doing it from an intrinsic place rather than continuously trying to perform or withhold a persona within the public eye, once we can turn it inward, the game changes for them, because it becomes an internal endeavor rather than one of trying to uphold the idea of what the external world has made of you.
Yep.
Like overthinking, they're humans. Overthinking is one, struggling with loss, like a game or a loss, putting all the pressure on themselves, like pressure, like the same things that us as normal humans have. And this is, again, why we need to stop pedestaling them. Some of the comments, you looked at some of the comments that go through some of these things, and it's just ridiculous. It's really nasty. And I'll completely be honest, I had judgments of athletes 5-6 years ago, maybe about 6 years ago, but it all came from an envious place within myself.
What were those judgments?
Oh, like, you fool, you get paid so much money, why did you drop the ball? Or like, and like, maybe the word wasn't full, but you know what I mean. But like, if someone committed themselves, you don't understand the woman, and this is how society works, or the male or the woman that is the best shelf packer at Woolworths, unfortunately is limited with what they can earn. Because the attention on shelf packing or Woolworths isn't there.
Mm-hmm.
The attention, if you commit all of your life to being the best rugby league player, that avenue just happens to have so much attention around it and so many people watch it, which is why they get the contracts that they do.
Yep.
It's just what you've chosen to put your time and energy into has given you the result or the income that you're at. Do you know what I mean? And I think that there's this misconception between the general population judging the wages that rugby league players are on.
Definitely. And I think that,
or not just rugby league players, athletes.
High performers in general. And I think that comes back to, if you're judging someone else, I think that says a lot more about yourself than them.
100%.
Like, what kind of life are you living? Just sit there on your iPhone and
eating a couple of pies, you've had 3 Red Bulls that day, and you're coming home and fucking someone makes a mistake on the rugby league field and you judge them and say they're not worthy of it. But it's like that performance, that 80-minute performance is such a belief in what they do.
Definitely.
Between cultural things, you look at someone like Nico, he's had such an amazing influence. And I often speak to Nico about his worth goes so beyond what he does on the football field because he's just authentic. Mm-hmm. And he's having a greater message on society than his left or right boot will ever have. It's just by being himself.
That's it. And I'm loving seeing athletes like Nico just being themselves. I think last week, the Warriors game, did you see Sean Johnson's post-game interview? No. Oh, bro, what
did he say? What was
he was just so raw and so honest. It wasn't just like, oh, thanks to the boys, all that kind of stuff that footy players say. Like, it was actually real and raw. And it's like, wow, like, these athletes are just showing up as themselves now. They're not being robots and doing the things that higher up expect them to do. They're actually just turning up as themselves. And even, athletes like KP, like doing all the business stuff, the vlogs, and Chad Townsend, and all these players are now, they're not just footy players anymore. And they're thinking about life after footy too, and who they truly are and what their other passions are. Because, this podcast is about mental health. So many athletes, they finish up their career and they feel so lost. They don't know who they are, what they want to do with their lives. And sadly, so many ex-professional athletes take their own lives because they feel so lost in this world because they've wrapped up their whole identity in, I'm a rugby league player, I'm a professional athlete. And it's so sad to fucking see. And so awesome to see these new athletes coming through now and doing what I just mentioned.
That's why mindfulness is just so important. It's just mindfulness is becoming aware of the mind. And I don't do that for the athlete. I just help simplify their journey to understanding what's going on. How can we move through it? Let's create a game. And that's it. And I can't pinpoint what it is that I do because it's too unique to each and every athlete that I come across.
I seen somewhere, I think you posted it, he said athletes get so caught up in the outcome or the result, and it's about effort and ease, finding that balance. What is that and how do we find that?
Yeah, so when we look at outcome is just a byproduct of making good decisions. Good decisions is just a byproduct of knowing what decision to make. So intention. Intention is just a byproduct of focus. How do we create focus? I believe it's found in stillness. So taking the time in the mornings or before games to understand what is my focus for today's game or today's performance. That then creates focus. That then improves decision making. That then leads to outcome, right? So it's process. Now, when we talked about effort and ease, a little bit different to sort of outcome and process, but when we talked about effort and ease, it is that perfect blend between being so outcome orientated and that then becoming just like your life is like just so structured that it's outcome that you're sort of just missing the moment too. And that's where the ease comes in. It's not necessarily like ease taking your foot off the pedal, but it's sort of being aware of your surroundings and aware of the moment that you're in whilst on the journey to achieving the outcome. It's like just appreciating the journey from an athlete's perspective. And so it's knowing when to put the foot down, when to take the foot off, you know, when to show up at training, but when to be a dad, or when to face the media and when to just turn off your socials and connect with friends. And it's this fine line between putting the foot down on that one and then releasing, putting the foot down on the other one. And then when we do that, performance becomes so much more sustainable, which is why when I help my athletes set up their weeks or when their days, it's like setting the outcome for performance that day is no more important than setting the outcome or the focus for the personal self that day. Like, what is that person want to do outside of their health, their performance that day? So do they want to take their partner out for dinner? Do they want to call someone that they haven't spoken to in a while? Does that make sort of sense?
Yeah, it's about creating a healthy balance and lifestyle within your life. And the way I kind of see it is there's this 6-8 week, get shredded programs that you can do, right? And people go so hard, put all that effort into it. They get to the 6-8 weeks, they may get the result because that's all they focus on, the result. Then what? They bounce back because they haven't created that healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. I in the gym industry, as you can imagine, I've been doing that for a long time and I've been through that myself. My biggest question is people that want to do 6 or 8 week challenges is like, why do you want instant gratification? Why do you want it so fast? There's a level of discipline. Like I appreciate discipline. Discipline's so important. I really do appreciate that, and it's something I always try and do every single day, and I don't always succeed at it either. But we need to know as humans what we value in life, because I've seen so many people do 6 to 8 week fitness challenges and stop being a mother almost during that process. I've seen people get to the point where they haven't been able to afford their kids certain Christmas presents, but they're able to buy the supplement that supplements the supplement to supplement the supplement that supplement.
Yeah.
It's just a never-ending spiral, that whole world. And it's just all bullshit. It's honestly all bullshit. Move your body every day, get good night's sleep, eat organic food or eat local food, and yeah, that's true. And the rest will, and drink water, and the rest will take care of itself. Yeah, if you want to lose some weight, maybe calorie deficit and but let's just master the fundamentals. And people go from 0 to 100 so fast that they're their nervous system's running on a sympathetic state for that whole journey. So it's not sustainable. They haven't done the reps to build sustainability around that. So they go from nothing to something so fast, puts their body in fight or flight response through overstimulation of caffeine, through pre-workouts and fat burners. They get to the end of the week, 8 weeks, they achieve what they set out to achieve, when deeply it was never that. They just wanted to have more confidence about themselves. It was never the weight, it was just more confidence. So if we deal with confidence, we don't need to worry about the weight, because the weight won't always be there, because we'll find a sustainable way to be in shape and to be healthy. So why don't we go root cause rather than surface level?
That's it. And as soon as you deal with the root cause, the thing that you go out to, the weight loss will naturally occur anyway because you've dealt with the root cause.
Yeah.
You're naturally going to work out, create that healthy lifestyle for you. It may not happen in 8 weeks, but over time it's going to happen and you're going to be a lot more happy and healthier for it.
Yeah. Who's the fitter person? The person that looks good after 8 weeks or the person that trained 250 days out of 365? You know what I mean? When we look at it, it's like, what is health? And our idea of health, particularly in the rise of social media, has been about appearance. But we don't understand that we have mastered our personas on our social media platforms. And it's very rarely the person that's congruent to the person who they are behind the scenes.
Why do we as humans overcomplicate everything? When you just mentioned we just need to focus on the fundamentals of life, yet we tend to go away from that. Do you think it's looking for that quick fix, that quick gratification, that we tend to overcomplicate everything?
Yeah, I struggle with overcomplicating stuff all the time, every day. So I'm only speaking from experience. I'm not probably speaking from an embodied place. When I speak from this, I'm just speaking from my experience. Something that I've been thinking about, like Alex Hormozy, because he's fresh in my mind, so I was listening to him on the way down. He talks about just doing the reps or like just doing the work. And I feel like sometimes I can personally get caught up in overcomplicating and over strategizing, but at the same, like, it's just the avoidance of actually just doing the thing that doing the podcast,
yeah,
rather than just strategizing the $1 million plan for the podcast, or you know what I mean, like. And I think we overcomplicate. Yeah, I don't really have an answer. Like, I'm happy to admit I don't really have an answer. I just think if we just simplify and just bring it back to the thing that actually achieves the result, we just need to do that. I wrote something down yesterday. It's like, do less best. Do less best. So yeah, no, I'm a bit stumped on that. I don't have a true answer on why we overcomplicate things, but most things, it probably comes down to something that happened to our life and what was a behavioral adaptation that we created from that situation, and then what's led us down this path of overcomplicating everything. There's always a story to something.
That's it, yeah. We all get caught up in it. I get caught up in it myself, and it's just like, less is more. Yeah, and the footy field kiss, keep it simple, stupid, right? We need to incorporate that in our day-to-day lives. Because, yeah, we do overcomplicate things, and I feel for me, when I do it, it's a level of procrastination or resistance to actually going out and doing the work. So we try and overcomplicate it, and then we make it seem that it's so hard, and then we actually don't actually go out and do it.
Yeah, 100%. So we've proven to ourselves, and I actually with this is procrastination is like, when we overcomplicate things, with actually what we're doing is we're re-solidifying to the ego why we shouldn't do it, which only reaffirms the belief of I'm a procrastinator, or even below that, I'm not doing enough.
We're looking for that confirmation bias within ourselves. The term resilience, right, gets thrown around a lot, and especially with high performers and role players, just be more resilient. Get through that shit. Like when COVID happened, they all had to relocate up to Queensland, and players were not happy about that because they've broken up from families and stuff like that, which totally understand.
All the single players loved it.
Yeah. But people were putting shit on them, and just be more resilient, like suck it up. I seen you posted something that we need more than fucking resilience. What more do we need?
Coming back to my point, if you're a high performer, you're going to commit to the work, right?
Yep.
Let's use NRL as an example. You're not going to be a top 30 player if you don't have a level of discipline. The level of discipline you've showed to get there is fantastic, right? So there's a level of discipline there already. Resilience is important. We need to be resilient, but what I actually believe is the fundamentals to a high performing team is two things. Is to create a culture of belonging, and then using the art of focus. So if we can create a culture where we've intrinsically inspired people to want to play for this club, and we've created a place where they can feel seen, heard, and accepted, to be fully themselves, If we've created a culture to create a sense of belonging, resilience will naturally come through that, because you will want to work for your mate inside your shoulder. You will want to show up. You will want to push, right? Rather than focusing on resilience itself. Because if we just focus on resilience, we may not get the sense of belonging. If we focus on culture and building a sense of culture and belonging, and we can go do these resilience camp, but at the same, coming back to creating that sense of belonging, resilience will show up, I believe, in a team. Then the art of focus, it's like, we don't want to be going into sporting arenas overthinking too much. We just want to keep our focus points less, because we've already done the reps. You know, the Nicos and the Nathans and the Dan Carters, they've done hours of kicking practice. So what we need to do, or what I believe, is the art of focus. How can we have these standards or these themes that are there's only like 3 to 5 that the group are all on the same page on. And so we use them as like values in companies, how companies, big organizations have these values drive behavior, right? And so if we can have these themes and standards within these clubs, then what happens is each of the individuals are thinking on the same wavelength, because there's 30 individuals coming into a team environment. And what I feel the job as a coaching staff is to get all 30 players thinking on the same page, or within a certain percentage of the same thought. Because that means everyone's focus is on a very similar thing, which means the outcome is going to be, we don't achieve the outcome we've set out to achieve more often than not. And then if we back that up with a foundation of belonging, that's where resilience is formed. Because you're an elite athlete already. You're going to show up. If you're not going to show up, you won't be in the top 30, or you won't be in these squads. So yeah, I believe it's creating a sense of belonging, and then the art of focus, blend those two in, and then that puts the team in the perfect position to thrive and to perform.
What clubs or teams have you seen do that really well? Because I've seen the Bulldogs been putting a lot of stuff up on YouTube, their pre-season stuff, and building their culture and getting the old players in. And from the outside in, it really looks like Cam Serrato's created such a strong culture there. And their performance wasn't the best last night, but I like what they're building there.
Their performance, the body always takes time to speed up to the mind. What they've put in place, they will reap the rewards in that in 12 months, 24 months. It's obvious. So what they're doing, I'm incredibly amazed by what they've released. I think it's great. It's breaking a lot of stigma. So credit to the Bulldogs. I can't really speak, like I looked at the All Blacks and I looked at like what drives the All Blacks, why are they so connected, like what is it about the All Blacks? And there's a depth to it that I don't think a lot of us see, you know, cultural, religious beliefs, you know, and like you can just see there's that unity there. Yeah, you look at Penrith, there's this brotherhood about them, you know, there's this connection about them, which, you know, has helped them get to where they have. You know, I'm not going to go too into detail about what I'm helping my athletes do at these certain clubs, but yeah, coming back to it is, I really admire the things of what the Bulldogs are doing. You can clearly see that what Penrith have been doing and how they're doing it, and whatever they're doing behind the scenes is working. And I can't help but think that all thriving clubs and all thriving sporting organizations are all thinking on the same page and all have the same standards, from admin to their marquee player. And because it's the principles from business can be applied to the principles in sport.
Definitely. I seen this diagram on your page, and the overlapping diagram of, was it purpose, performance, persistence?
Yep. How
much of a role does those three areas play in life and being a high performer?
Yeah, so it's called the greatness blueprint that I created, and I feel like if we can master those three things, we live a happy, fulfilled life, but we also perform at a high level. So within performance, we have beliefs. What are the beliefs that we hold about ourselves? And are we able to become aware of them and move through them and play through and perform through more empowered beliefs more often. So beliefs is one subheading in performance. Number 2 is, are we able to minimize that roller coaster effect that athletes often speak about? And so how we do that is we want to try and adopt more of a neutral thinking mind more often. Number 3, it's breath. The work that I do with the athletes behind the scenes, there's so much depth to it. And then because we've gotten them to a place of so much awareness, we can use the breath to then bring them back to this calm place. So if we can learn to manage our breath, and even if it's through stoppages in performances or whatever, we can normally bring them back to themselves. So that's performance. Purpose, we've got values, relationships, and career. So what are our values that we've created for our life that we've taken the time to discover, to define for ourselves? Our relationships, are we filling our relationship cup up? Our intimate partners, our parents, our friends. And then purpose, what are the curiosities, hobbies, or businesses or endeavors that you're going after away from your performance that also fill your cup up, okay? And then persistence is all funded by persistence. So what are we doing on the daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis? Are we setting outcomes? Are we doing meditation? Whatever that may look for the individual, but often the performance and the purpose element of it is just fueled by what we've set up from a habit perspective in our persistence. And I feel like if the athlete can just focus on these 3 key things, they will evolve as an athlete, but at the same time evolve as a human.
And it's coming back to, mastering the basics, right? And so you believe these 3 areas of life allow you to be a high performer and to be a better human in society?
Yeah, like I think there's principles that can flow off the back of that, like being open-minded and always willing to learn and to be welcoming new perspectives, but particularly within teams, like people that are within good sporting teams, that's fundamental. Because there's this, I don't know, individual sports, they have teams within them, but there's an element of like a rugby league team that you're going somewhere with your mates that I feel like helps. And so I don't work with as many athletes that are doing individual sports as much. But they would just need to focus on just making sure they're showing up, which again is just a part of being a high performer. So yeah, I believe those 3 key things, if we can focus on them and give attention to those areas and work on filling those cups up, they will perform.
I think it's absolutely amazing the work that you do, especially for Australian sport and Australian athletes. Like you look at overseas athletes and they have mindset coaches, but here in Australia we're a bit behind the times and not many athletes have been seen having mindset coaches. So for you to come into this space and work with the athletes that you do work with, Nico Hines, Kalen Ponga, it must be a bit of a pinch me moment to be able to work with such high performers like that.
Yeah, bro. Again, coming back, I always wanted to play rugby league. And I love sport in general. So I constantly needed to take them off pedestals and realize that they are humans. And I believe my greatest influence and impact on these athletes is humanizing them. So I constantly need to remind myself that it's more of gratitude that I have, not a pedestaling of these players. It's more, I'm grateful that they have the trust and faith in me to be able to help them become better humans, more aligned, authentic humans, whilst obviously being high performance. So forever grateful that they have the trust and the faith in me to be themselves.
If there's any athletes listening to this and they want to work with you, how can they go about that?
Yeah, for sure. So there's 2 different ways. At the moment, our one-on-ones is an application process. Otherwise, we are creating a program called the Elevated Athlete, which is a group program, which is more of a feasible way for athletes to work in a high vibe, high performance community of athletes on the same journey. And so, yeah, our elevated athlete membership, we get together once a week. We're going to have more workshops. All of the programs and the principles that I teach and work with our one-on-ones is transformed into video content that they also get access to as well. So, yeah, the elevated athlete membership is a great way for athletes that are on their journey to professional sport and may not have the income like professional players do, to evolve their mind.
Who do you think's going to win the comp this year?
Yeah, not because I'm biased. I generally believe Cronulla have a really solid team across the park. I feel like they have the best bench in the comp when they're at full strength without injury. I just feel like they don't lose any momentum off the bench. And obviously, I'm always going to back my man to the hills. He's one of my best mates. So, I feel like Cronulla can get the job done. But, I'm so, I just want all our athletes to do well within their lives and with their performance. So, I want to see the Newcastle boys go better than what they did last year. I love what they're building up at Newcastle. They're doing an amazing job. And what they've shown early in the year so far, I feel like they've proven a lot of some of the fucking shit talkers, in the media like to create hype around. So I think Newcastle have done a great job so far. And then I've got Liam Knight, who's coming back from injury, which I can't wait to see him return and back to his best. And then Sua down at the Dragons. So from a comp perspective, I think Sharksmith are done, but I'm just all in on all our athletes to continue to evolve as humans and get out what they decide to want to get out of this season. So, and then all the other athletes on the side, our boxers and everything,
Who do you go for when they're versing each other?
Yeah, interesting. I haven't been in this position yet because last year I only worked with Nico. Sua and Nico versed each other the other week, but they're on different sides of the field, which was a blessing. But it's going to be interesting in a few weeks when Knights come up against the Sharks. I'm excited for it. Probably from a bit of a just it's going that fanboy within me, or not that fanboy, but that fan of rugby league's very fast disappearing, and I'm sort of becoming, I feel like a worker within the game.
Yep.
But I do love Cronulla. I do have a soft spot for Cronulla. I think I have a soft spot for Cronulla because Nico gave me the opportunity to work with him and seeing what he did last year, and obviously he's their main man. But to be honest with you, I'm probably less about the team and more about the individuals that I worked with. So yeah, for Cronulla, Connor, Nico, I just want to see them do their best, and they happen to be in a blue and white and black jersey, and so with that comes the relationships that I built at Cronulla with some of the other boys too. So yeah, I want to see Cronulla do well, but at the same time, I do really want to see the other boys do well. And so when Newcastle, Browse and KP come up against the Sharks boys, going to be interesting.
You have to give them those half jerseys, bro. Newcastle and Sharks.
I would just wear a black jersey. There's nothing neutral.
Jared, we have a closing tradition on the podcast where the previous guest leaves a question for the next guest without knowing who it is. So the question for you is, what takes you out of the present moment and how do you bring yourself back?
The thing that takes you out of the present moment is the ego, whether it's continue to live in a past story, or the ego trying to create a future story that hasn't happened yet. We as humans hate uncertainty, and so the reason, the ways that we do create certainty is to either continue to live a past event or to try and construct a future event that hasn't happened yet. And because we hate uncertainty, we pull ourselves out of the present moment, which is uncertain. But all we have is now. So the more that we can realize it's just the mind playing tricks on us, we can sort of have a bit of a giggle at it. We can pull ourselves back to the present moment. And I feel like awareness is key to growth. And then the breath is important just to sort of down-regulate the system and bring us back to the now.
I love that. Jared, Thank you, my man.
Thank you.
It's been an amazing conversation, and I appreciate you once again making the trip out here and, trusting in this podcast to make the trip out and have this conversation. So thank you. It's been amazing.
Credit to you, bro. You're doing an exceptional job, and I'm inspired by your discipline to stay at it. So keep at it.
Appreciate it, bro. Let's go.